Hey, what's up? It's Dominic D'Angelo. It is Studio One Sports. Yes, studio1sports.com. And I'm happy to be here live to talk with all of you a little bit about Royal Rumble 2026. And I want to get your thoughts on the pay per view or PLE. Geez, you can tell how old I am. I was thinking about that earlier yesterday before I did watch Royal Rumble. I actually watched Royal Rumble 1998 live on here as well, so you can go back, kind of tune in and time up the stream where we watch it together. And I was thinking, man, what a great pay per view Royal Rumble 1998 was. And then deeper in my brain, I'm thinking later on, I was like, just think about it. Like back then, you are lucky if your parents gave you money to buy the pay per view. You paid $30, which, at the time was a good amount of money, especially for a kid. So you're fortunate enough to watch this pay per view. And it feels like a big deal. And like you're still on the cusp of the Attitude Era really catching fire. There's still a lot more to come. Like I said on the live stream before, previously, that there was, you're still on the very early embers of DX, the new iteration of DX, where they're the babyface faction instead of the heel faction. You get the New Age Outlaws involved. Sooner than later, you get X-Pac showing up and really changing the dynamic of it all too. And so there's a lot going on, a lot of neat stuff kind of happening at that time. So to be a kid and if your parents, were okay enough with it to watch WWF at this time with all the risque Jerry Springer Crash TV kind of content going down, then it was a pretty exciting time as a kid, for sure. Especially if you're in your adolescence, like I was. Like I said yesterday on the stream, I was 12 years old at the time. So this was right in my wrestling fandom. 1998 was a great year, not just for pro wrestling, but for my New York Jets fandom. Let's say hi to some folks in the chat, like Maddie, who is all over the place here. What's up, Maddie? Good to see you. He says Liz win was pretty good. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. AJ to TNA, we'll also talk about that in a second. Men's Rumble, I'm a bit confused. Roman won. We'll talk about that as well as a lot of other things. Also, shout out to the real Jonathan. Oh, you got the paperclip. WWE is scripted, always scripted. Well, yes, that's true. That is very true. Hey, if you're tuning in live, we're on studio1sports.com. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Like the video if you're tuning in right now. If you happen to be one of the 135 people, whether you're tuning in on X or on my YouTube channel here. And feel free to engage in conversation. Ask a question, and I'll be happy to put your chat up here too, and we can discuss some things if there's a little bit of context you want to provide or add to it. But yes, I actually watched Royal Rumble on a bit of a delay, so I didn't watch it live in time. And I did get a few things spoiled for me beforehand. For example, it's hard to be on social media and you're so addicted to your phone, it's almost a force of habit to check some things once in a while. So like I would pop up or you get notifications. I think that was my real, and text messages. So I was in a group chat with a certain WWE Hall of Famer. No need to brag, but we were discussing the Rumble and like in the group chat, and a couple of things. One thing potentially got spoiled, and that was Gunther defeating AJ Styles. So I kind of had a hunch that I didn't read the text, but I caught wind of a little bit, and I was like, oh, it sounds like Gunther won. And then I think, X, I get notifications from X where they do those random ones where the X will show a post that to maybe somebody you follow, but like it's just a weird update. And so they literally sent me the photo of Triple H with Liv Morgan. And I was like, what the F? And then how did I figure out then I went on Facebook. I'm friends with Dave LaGreca on Facebook, and I saw he posted a congrats Will Hobbs post. And I was like, oh, shoot, that means Will Hobbs showed up. So those were the three things I was aware of tuning into Rumble beforehand. I just didn't know what exactly all developed. I didn't know who won the men's Royal Rumble. Didn't know who won the men's world title match, WWE title match, and was there another match on there too that I was? No, and didn't know any of the surprises necessarily in the women's match. All right, so I took notes while I did the show, watched the show. Um, Brian Foley, Braun was eliminated quickly because they didn't want the optics to show him in a ring full of giants. That's an interesting take. Maybe not at this moment in time. I don't think they're intimidated by that necessarily. Because, I mean, look, Braun has been in the ring with, guys bigger than him. Isn't Seth taller than him? Am I mistaken on that? But, like, I don't know if that was necessarily a crux of why they did that. I really don't think that's the reason. I think there was more of a story for it, but it's an interesting thought to have. I think you put Braun and Lesnar up. Yeah, Braun's gonna be smaller, but there's kind of a neat dynamic with that at the same time. Not like a necessarily a David and Goliath thing, but hey, still you have like a pit bull going up against a mastiff, sort of thing happening. Like, that's still an intense fight, right? Not that I'm into dogfighting whatsoever. I actually canceled Michael Vick when he did that, and then he became a New York Jets. I canceled my New York Jets fandom for that one season that Michael Vick was on for the Jets. I was not a New York Jets fan that one year. But like, but that's kind of like a comparison for it, right? I don't. It's an interesting take. But I don't think that's necessarily the take because look, he was going to go up against Obafemi, and Obafemi's a big dude, right? Obafemi's sized up, so like, yeah, I don't think that's. Maybe it's something that they think in the back of their mind from a visual perspective, for sure. I'm sure that's been considered and maybe even talked about, but I don't know if that was necessarily the reason that happened. I think this was more for the angle. Who do you guys think was the masked man, by the way? Feel free to chime in on that. I've had some interesting takes I've heard already from people. Somebody said Finn, which would make sense in a certain way, like being outed of the Royal Rumble, but when he would, I don't know. That's an interesting one. Adam Pierce made a post on social media with him in a mask and talking about like, sometimes basically kind of implying you take matters into your own hands when you get pushed around and whatever. And so maybe it was Adam Pierce. What's the angle with that though? I mean, if you have him take out Braun, are we really clamoring for a Braun versus Adam Pierce match? That's kind of where I would be confused by. Oh wow, this is an interesting one. Brandon Thomas. Jake Paul would be brilliant and could go to the moon and back with that storyline. Holy smokes. That's a good one. I really like that, Brandon. Nice idea. And that would kind of make sense. Like maybe you can't rope in Jake Paul to have that appearance, so like you don't show him, but you have him go out there and do that. Can he wrestle though? That's the question. Can he wrestle like his brother? We'll talk about Logan Paul here tonight too. Maddie says it'd be cool if it was Pierce. Shout out Triple E. He joined us. Oh yeah. Yeah, you got to turn them notifications on, Triple E, when we go live. AJ is done when he turns 50. I think he might have a match in another company, no matter what company it is, to have a match or two, but it won't be a whole year-long thing. It was terrible the missed Lesnar elimination on TV because Jay was out still yeeting and the yeet was way too long. We're definitely going to talk about that too. Yeah. Well, let me pull up my notes. So like I said, I did a little easy article where I just did 30 notes from the Royal Rumble when I watched it. And this will just kind of help me out with giving a little bit of, I'm not that this is going to be a recap. We're just going to break down some interesting tidbits from the PLE itself. And I'll give a little bit more thorough thoughts instead of like just quick, simple notes. Yeah, I thought the women's match I thought the women's match actually, if I was to be completely like just uh straightforward with it, from a booking perspective, from the story elements that came into play, and from things that were set up, I think the women's World Rumble match was better. I think they did a lot of neat things with it. Starting off with Liv Morgan and not Liv Morgan, with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. So funny, like I said beforehand, I watched the Royal Rumble 1998, and serendipitously enough, the first two people to come out to that Rumble match was Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie, who were a tag team at the time. And here, lo and behold, first two people to come out to this one was Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Now, the outcome of what happened was mighty different, as Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack exchanged chair shots to one another, but Charlotte Flair and Alexa clearly did not do that. They were more friends than anything else. So I thought that was really cool. And so in a different, they kind of turned that notion on its head. Oh, these tag teams are gonna, these two, it's every man or woman for themselves. And here, that is not the case. So like I liked that thing kind of kicking everything off. And then wow, third entrant I believe was Kiana James. And she legitimately had a low key great Royal Rumble. Like she's very athletic. She's got a great look. And I think that she had one of the spots of the night where she Samoan dropped Nia Jax to show that unbelievable strength that she had. So I was pretty impressed by her. Like I've only seen her here and there, and I don't like. I think this was a great thing for her. This really, I think, further establishes her a little bit as somebody that to keep an eye on. Not that like there's several other women here that got more of a spotlight, I think, but she low key had a really great Rumble. She was good. I just put a poll up here to say, did you straight flat out? Did you enjoy Royal Rumble 2026? Simple yes or no. You can do. So feel free to engage in that. But yes, so I liked the start of the Women's Royal Rumble match. I thought it was great, and I think there's a lot to be said. Another person that stood out to me was Lola Vice. I liked her a lot. I like the name because I'm a big Miami Vice / Vice City. And, if you go to rvdtv.com, you can see the aesthetic that I chose for that channel. So like, I thought she came out there and she added some MMA stuff a little bit, like more so with the kicking and everything. And, I think there's certainly a place for her as well. I'm curious. I have not seen her speak on the mic or anything. So I'm curious what kind of personality she can show behind the microphone. But like, I mean, she's got a presence about her, and I think that's really great. Somebody else that's great, Becky Lynch. Not a super long appearance here in the Rumble, but she made the most of getting herself in the position of being unlikable. Immediately, she comes out with that Intercontinental Championship, and typically you hand that title over to one of the referees at ringside who are judging the match, and she doesn't really think about it and almost hands it to Jessica Carr, but then realizes, no, I don't like you. You're crooked, or from her opinion, and then hands it to a different referee. And I was like, that's such a nice little detail to play mind to that. I don't know if Becky thought of that or they told her to do that, but man, great stuff. And Becky, honestly, one of my top 5 favorite wrestlers going today. No doubt about it. Like last year, she was my wrestler of the year. And this year, she was my women's wrestler of the year. Oh, that's so no, not last year. Last year, my wrestler of the year was Drew McIntyre, actually, but Becky Lynch is up there. So maybe it was, I can't remember. Either way, she was my women's wrestler of 2025, to be honest. So, and I think she just furthers to do that. I'm really intrigued to see what's next for her. She is appointment television for me. Becky Lynch is. Natty's new theme music is great. I can't remember what I was thinking about when I saw it, but I liked it a lot. It does remind me of a certain band, but I can't think of what it was. I'd have to rehear it again, but I was like, "Ooh, this sounds like maybe it was Rage Against the Machine." It might have been it. It was Rage Against the Machine. I can't remember. Oh yeah, we'll get to that. Maddie, good chiming in. Hey, good evening, JC Doors. Is this for Jim Morrison Doors? Is that what your name is in reference to? Either way, I like it. Doors are important to life, but they're also a great band, or we're a great band. Daniel Bryan return because of his wife? No, I don't think so. At least not for a while. I think he's pretty locked into AEW for now. I could be wrong, but yeah, could be wrong on that. Okay, let's take a look at some more of my notes. I wonder if this is really annoying to me. I'm trying to pull this up in a better fashion. Substack. Yeah, that's not gonna work. We're gonna do it this way. Bear with me here. It's funny. When I was watching Royal Rumble yesterday, '98, I was like, "How tall is Mick Foley?" And he's 6'3". I was pretty surprised by that, to be honest. Austin's 6'2", but like I've interacted with Mick before, and I guess it makes sense that he's that tall, but I just never saw him that way. So I was pretty surprised by that. All right, I'm all over the map here. What the hell am I doing? 1 second. All right. What else did I want to chime in here with? So, yeah, that is an issue though, is music, and like we talked about this on Rumor and Innuendo for the past week, a couple times, but like that's a problem in both companies is theme music. I'll address this right now. Two theme musics that are just atrocious. You can really do something a lot better. And I don't mean you have to have a rock song or you got to have something like this, but man, they got to change Gunther's theme and Rusev's theme. Like it sounds like it was made on a computer. It does not sound good at all. It sounds cheesy, hokey, and they're like have some like I don't know, get some legit orchestra or trumpets playing, something like going really just find the right tone for those guys because it takes a good like a vital part of the presentation. Their theme music is not good. Like it's something that that just really stood out to me. Like you hear Becky Lynch theme, she comes out to the Wonder Years, which is a great band, and like you know, you don't like I said, you don't have to have a rock band, but make something like really. Even if he came out to like classical music, like that's commercial free or whatever, like a classic like Mozart or something. I don't know, but like some sort of just you could find something way better. Maxine Dupree looks great too. She's also impressive. Those like roundhouse kicks she was doling out were really nice and stuff. Was okay. Like that, her kind of existence in this match didn't really last that long. Because she's already has an established story going down, with Natty and everything. So that's great. Raquel Rodriguez had a great Royal Rumble. I think the connection that she has with Kevin Nash has been extremely important to her push in two ways. One is that she heeded Kev's advice about wrestling a big man style, quote unquote, and she definitely has put that into her repertoire. Second, the fact that it's a public knowledge that she's got this connection with Kev and like that Kev has helped her out, I think elevated her even more because they're calling her Big Mommy Cool. And there's that added element, like a legendary tie to her. And, I undoubtedly like he's a big reason, like she's her own, the fact that she took his advice is a big reason that she's elevated more. But I think the fact that she's tied to him too is also really imperative to her push. And like, what a great thing for her to eliminate Rhea. And that's a neat aspect of it too, because Rhea, I think, was the one who ultimately eliminated Lash Legend, who was on the tear throughout this. She was like the big highlight of the Rumble, like the women's Rumble, and so so Rhea eliminating her made sense. But then the fact that Raquel eliminated Rhea elevates Rhea. I mean Raquel, because Rhea's your biggest women's star you have in the company, and like you can tell by the pop, even in Saudi Arabia, how big of a deal she was. So I thought that was great. Brie Bella making a surprise appearance was a nice surprise. Look, people have criticized Brie or whatever for her wrestling acumen in the ring and certain things like that, but we have not seen her in years, and like people were wondering like, oh, who could you put in there that would really surprise? Is there anybody? Like you'd really have to try to question like who would really wow you coming out, and Brie was a nice one, and she got a huge reaction, and then they did a nice job of letting it be known like, hey, I don't know if Brie's back, but man, if she is back, imagine her teaming with Nikki. You got another women's set of, and that's perfect. That's exactly where they should be too, is in the women's tag division. You want to establish these titles and like and why not have two WWE Hall of Famers be in the mix of it all? So I thought that was nicely done. Sol Ruca, man, I love Sol Ruca. Like I said, she was Carly Simon cool because she looks like kind of like Carly Simon from the 70s, like way back when. And she does. She looks like a throwback woman in general. Like you don't see that type of woman today. Like that was more like early 90s, 80s. Like she's got that classic, like gorgeous kind of woman kind of look to her that you do not see today. I don't know how to really necessarily describe it, but like, and she's super athletic. She does some wild stuff. People criticize that Soul Snatcher. I don't know how. That is the coolest looking finisher there is. And yeah, I can buy into it. There's some of these moves where you necessarily like, how does the Spanish Fly work? Or like even a Canadian Destroyer, but like the Soul Snatcher is super duper sweet. And like she had for her to be in the final three, another way to elevate a new star coming up. Liv Morgan winning makes sense on several levels. Like she's been in the mix like for a couple of years now, and for her to get that win, she's earned it. Like, and not specifically from a wrestling standpoint. I think from getting herself over standpoint, from like charisma, personality, you name it, like that kind of thing. Her presence she really adds that whole other layer to the Judgment Day that, is pretty darn important, So I think she was great. And yeah, I enjoyed this match. I did. I thought the women's Rumble match was better than the men's match this year. And I felt the same the year before too. Last year, I felt the women's Rumble match was better than the men's last year too. Let's take a look at some of your comments. Ooh, Jem the Don has joined us. Let's see what he has to say. Oh, Santino would have been a bigger pop than the Bella twins. That's an interesting one. I don't know if Santina is made for today's world, to be honest. I really don't. Jem the Don says, give Gunther an epic remake of Ava Maria, the theme from the Hitman Blood Money. Yeah. That would be cool, right? Yeah, why not? But make it like a boss theme music like Roman. Yeah, there's so much you can do. Yeah, Van Dam fam instead. There's a lot of Van Dam fam in the house. Yes, by the way, tomorrow night, Rob Van Dam and I will be going live on this channel on RVD's X account. Not on Studio One Sports, but on RVDTV.com. So we're live on RVD's X account right now. We'll be live tomorrow night on RVD's X account with RVD, the man of the hour. So be sure to check that out and support the show. So let's take a look here. Next up was Gunther versus AJ Styles. Um, I like this match a lot. Um, I thought the finish was earned in this one. I because they set it up really well. I think uh, the guys that they obviously pun not intended, but they had very different styles, and but AJ kind of uh was like a chameleon and adapted to Gunther's style, escaping the sleeper hold and then trying his own version of the sleeper hold and like getting that technical kind of aspect into it. And then even stealing Gunther's power bomb in a really beautiful way. It was that power bomb he delivered to Gunther was just as legitimate looking as Gunther's. And so I thought the story in that kind of aspect being told was great. I love that Gunther harken back to his Cena match. Something I really liked about the Cena match was like he would be beating John Cena up and he would not have him in a submission hold, but he would demand the referee to ask him if he quits. He brought that back for this match. And I thought that was a cool added element for this bout. Like, because it just shows how ruthless Gunther is. And Gunther was ruthless in this match. Like, he was like, I'm not a big fan of the chops a lot of the times, but these chops were a big part of like, man, like Gunther is cracking AJ like crazy here. And then so AJ passing out to the sleeper hold just continues to establish Gunther. The crowd fell really silent and like crazy good's kind of silent. Like that is kind of what you're looking for. Like, oh man, is this it for AJ? And like, when that happened, I was kind of thinking like, yeah, kind of maybe is, right? And then he started taking his gloves off, and I was like, wow, he is. Yeah, if he takes his gloves off and like his boots and like sets him in the ring, I think he's gonna be done. Like, I don't think there will be another thing. But who here in this? Now, I made this tweet last night, and I've been promoting the heck out of it because I was really proud of it. But who here has seen the FX show The Shield? Obviously, I'm not talking about the faction with Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. I'm talking about the show with Michael Chiklis, Walton Goggins, who has rose to huge prominence in television and movies right now. And who has seen that? Jimmy Johnson, head coach of the Cowboys, actually made a cameo in that show. If you've seen, now this is a spoiler, everybody. This is a spoiler from over. Oh my God, I think it ended in 2008, maybe even earlier, maybe. But oh my God, no, it ended earlier than that because I think it started in like 99. The Shield was one of the first like primetime cable kind of shows that were a big deal. Like if you think about this, like the Sopranos or Breaking Bad, more like Breaking Bad, it was before Breaking Bad. And so so the ending of it, Michael Chiklis is Vic Mackey, and Vic Mackey is known to bend the rules as a police officer, like really bend the rules. But like ultimately, like he does it for he does corrupt. He's corrupt. There's no doubt about it. He's corrupt. But like it's like gray area. Like it's justified, and sometimes, oh boy, Vic, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Well, everybody gets found out, or everybody meets their some sort of demise in certain ways. And Vic Mackey finds himself sitting at a cubicle. This is where his ending spot is. He finds himself in a shirt and tie, sitting in a cubicle, doing desk work. And he's just sitting there stewing. And then all of a sudden, he opens up his drawer, grabs the gun in the drawer, cocks the gun, and then walks off. And that's it. Like, so he wasn't done. He went back and hit the streets. And when AJ Styles took off his gloves and then paused and then put him back on, that's all I could think about. I was like, that's the Vic Mackey moment right there. So we'll see what happens with AJ Styles. If I had to predict, I would say he's not done and that he's going to be, we're going to see him in TNA. And, I think WWE has this good connection with TNA. Obviously, they have a positive relationship with them. So if AJ Styles was to go on one final TNA run, like that would be a fresh set of matches for AJ to say goodbye on, and a company he's so synonymous with. So, like, if he stayed in WWE, if he defeated Gunther, and we did have a farewell year of AJ Styles, what more could have AJ have done in WWE that he hasn't already accomplished? We've seen him face everybody. They hit that final note with CM Punk on Raw, so they got that off the checklist there. But after that, if he beats Gunther, where's he going after this? Like, who could he face in WWE that he hasn't already done that would be like, okay, yeah, I have to see this match before AJ Styles retires. He's done everybody. He's covered everybody. Now, obviously, there's younger guys that he could maybe have gone against, like a Javon Evans, or like, other people in NXT. Ricky Saints would be a neat one. Like, I would have liked to see something like that. But he's basically hit everybody. Put him back in TNA. You have some classic matches maybe lined up. Him and Kazarian could come into play. And then there's a lot of Eric Young still wrestles. So putting him in TNA, there's a fresh set of matches. He's got a lighter schedule, so he doesn't have to necessarily be there all the time. It'd be really fun. So I hope AJ is not done, because I think that was a really cool moment for him to pause with the gloves and put him back on. I wonder if he was thinking about that show, The Shield, when he did that. I don't know. But, ooh. Gem the Dawn, The Shield is good. I'm rewatching The Sopranos for the 12th time. I have a buddy, too, that, a buddy, Jeff, he watches The Sopranos at least like once every 2 years. The whole series, he just goes back and watch again. I've only seen it once. And yeah, it's an awesome show. I love The Sopranos. And I watched it way after it ended. So, like, I was aware of what the finale was going to be about. I actually didn't mind the ending, but I was trying to put myself in the shoes of the viewer at that time. And, like, would that ending have frustrated me as much as it did the rest of the viewing audience? Yes, I think it would have. But, hindsight's 2020 or whatever cliche you want to use there. Knowing the ending was happening, I get it. I get the ending to The Sopranos. What do you think is the most rewatchable show in history besides wrestling? Yeah, I mean, Sopranos is a good one, I think. Like, I think you can always lean on a comedy. Probably Seinfeld. Seinfeld's probably a really one that you can really flick back onto. Yeah, Maddie said it too, Seinfeld. Yeah, Seinfeld, you can watch an episode and there's so many funny moments, and like you can just go back and boom. Simpsons, well, earlier Simpsons, I think, is another good one. The Office, at least the American version. I always like watching old clips of that. Yeah, so those are a couple. I mean, trying to think of like older shows that you could do. Like from the Nick at Night era or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of like sitcoms are probably your best bet because there's just a lot of good stuff. Yeah, that 70s show is good. I don't know. There's a lot of, controversy with a lot of the actors in that. But I do like that 70s show a lot. South Park's a good one too. Maddie suggests South Park. So there's a couple. All right, we had the world title match with Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. Sami like had a different type of energy, I thought, like for this match. And Drew just looked amazing. Like he looked like world champion. He really did. Like just from a visual standpoint. But this match, I thought it was good. I like too that Drew just won. I think Sami was great from fighting underneath and had a couple good hope spots and stuff like that. But then Drew put him down, like double tapped with the Claymore kick. And I thought him doing that was a good way. So it'll be interesting to see what to do with Sami after this. I think we're going to get a heel turn from him. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. Maddie. They need to keep it on Drew for a bit. Gangsta. He is gangster right now. He's rocking it, man. Um, what would be if you were to keep it for him for WrestleMania? Who would be his opponent? I think though if I had to lean, I would say Drew loses it in the Elimination Chamber just to set up like another huge world title match for WrestleMania. Not that I would necessarily be against him having that world title for WrestleMania. But I'm trying to think who would be a good opponent for him for that we haven't got. Could you put Jacob Fatu there? Could you prolong that and have him Jacob Fatu and then Fatu becomes the WWE champion at WrestleMania? Would that be too soon? Because it's clearly not going to be Drew and Gunther. That would just be weird. So I don't know. Wow. Triple E, are you not a fan of Sami Zayn? Yesterday was a good day to watch Sami lose like he always going to. I didn't know you had such harsh feelings about Sami Zayn. So yeah, I like the tease of the back too, like them working the back, Sammy, and then like Drew hitting that classic backbreaker, and then so that becoming a factor in the match itself was pretty nice too, I thought. Let's see. All right, men's Royal Rumble match. Obafemi is awesome. He's amazing. He's a future top star, I think. Like he even just his like facials, obviously his physical presence is something to really take note of, but he is a beast. In my first note too, even before I knew it was going to happen, I was like, he's got to go 50 minutes. He almost went 50 minutes, but he didn't quite. I think he was like probably like 40 something in the match. But like I thought they were just going to have him do the same thing, and I think that's what they wanted you to think was he was going to do the same thing that Brock Lesnar did and just be taking out everybody one by one until it's actually Lesnar that shows up. So they, but obviously that didn't go. But he had 5 notable eliminations. Like Rusev lasted like nothing, and I was like, man, they kind of did Rusev dirty because, like, if you heard about the report from PW Insider, they said WWE was intentionally keeping him off television because they were waiting to bring him back in a big manner to make him feel like a bigger deal in certain ways. And like I was like, yeah, I'm all for if you're doing that, if you're keeping him off television for that reason, I think I can always subscribe to that. But like, look, he got eliminated immediately. So what are they doing next? I think maybe Rusev and Oba might be the first feud we're going to see, but we'll have to wait and see. And then what you going to job? You putting Rusev in a bad spot there though too. At the same time because you're going to job him out to Oba. Like Rusev's not going to feel like anything after a while, you know. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with that. I liked Mr. Iguana came out. Now, my co-host Robert Karpelis on Rumor and Innuendo predicted that we'll get a Mr. Iguana appearance, and we sure enough did. I like Mr. Iguana, and I thought it would be a very fun thing to add to the match. I don't know if it hit it as well as I thought it would. I don't think the crowd reacted to this, and I would say that Saudi crowd did not react in several ways, in the ways that I think they should have, or like you want an audience to react. And Mr. Iguana was a little bit one of them, but like some of the moments and stuff like that felt a lot flatter than what they probably should have been, I think. And I don't think it just, putting it on paper and saying, oh, Mr. Iguana is going to be in the Rumble, that's going to be fun. It ended up being okay, but not really great. I think that it kind of fell flat overall. With the Robert made the pitch that, hey, somebody should eliminate his iguana pet first and then eliminate Mr. Iguana. But I don't know. It just didn't work. If Mr. Iguana, if this was in the United States, I think he would have got a different reaction. And like it would have got over better. But Wade Barrett did make a great reference about saying Jack Tunney banned pet iguanas from, being in the ring or something like that, which I appreciated that. Let me talk about commentary before I forget it too. I think Wade Barrett does a great job, and I love kind of the sense of humor he has, some of the context he provides, and like the analysis he gives. Michael Cole can do a good job, but there's a lot of times where I think Michael Cole kind of contradicts the product. And this stems back even to when Vince McMahon was here. He co-ops a lot of things. Like some of the things that are supposed to be cool, Michael Cole also partakes in. And I don't think that really helps get things over because it would be like a goofball me kind of trying to help get things over. Or like, is some guy, obviously Michael Cole's like what is he like 61, something like that? And he's co-opting like some like, hey, this is supposed to be cool. Like, well, yeah, so like JR, if JR was trying to do that stuff in the Attitude Era where it's like, oh, let's get down with Too Cool or whatever, JR was noted of Too Cool and like observed it and called it and like reacted to it, but he did not partake in it, so to speak. Michael Cole does that a lot. I also noticed too, when entries came out to the Rumble, he did not make that big of a deal about them. He like set it up in such a like game show host kind of way. Where he's like, oh, and here and from NXT we have Sol Ruka coming out there. Like, we've seen this person many times, and then gives a little catchphrase or like tagline to this person. And here's Jordan Grace. There's not that like, oh, wow, Jordan Grace is here from NXT. Like, man, what is she going to do? There was not a lot of that going on. And, I think he undercuts some of this stuff of what should be presented in a more kind of fashion. I like, now this is a polarizing take, but I like Joe Buck a lot. Now, Joe Buck, he can kind of do that too with NFL games, and Michael Cole has a sense of humor too, but I think, I think people get frustrated with Joe Buck sometimes because he's not, and not that you have to be overly enthusiastic or go crazy. I think Mauro Ranallo overdoes it. Like, he's on the polar opposite of Michael Cole. And like, I would much rather have, I think, Michael Cole than I would Mauro Ranallo. No offense to Mauro, but like, it's just too much. And like, but I don't think Michael Cole is necessarily doing enough to help perpetuate this star power. Like, of some of these that you want to go over. And we're going to talk about some star power here in just a second too, by the way. Yeah, this is the perfect time to say it. Okay, man, we get Powerhouse Hobbs. Immediately it shows up on the screen. We're like, oh, they kept his name. And then nope, whoosh, they wash it over on the Titantron. Royce Keys. But I appreciate the fact that they didn't shy away from his name and who he was previously. And I also appreciated the fact, too, that Michael Cole kind of gave a little bit of context without mentioning the letters AEW. And so Powerhouse is awesome. I love Powerhouse Hobbs. He was so underutilized in AEW. If I had hair, I would have pulled it out several times for him because he's such a good dude. He's got a great look. I said they should have put the title on him at several points. And they never took advantage of it. Boom, here comes Royce Keys. I like the name Royce Keys, by the way. First off, I'm a huge Steely Dan fan. Steely Dan's my favorite band of all time. They had a singer that they actually, I don't think ever used on one of their main tracks, Royce Jones. Maybe look him up on YouTube. Type in any major dude, Royce Jones, and listen to that. But so I've always liked the name Royce. And so Royce, I believe, is his youngest son's name, and Keys was the maiden name of his mother who passed away. So it's a really nice name, actually. And so I like it. I think that I don't have an issue whatsoever with Royce Keys as a name. I think, and them changing his name. I don't think putting him in Saudi Arabia was appropriate for his presentation. Saudi crowd did not react as they should have to somebody like Royce Keys. If you debuted Royce Keys in the United States, Canada, London, you name it, somewhere else where their ardent fans are already attuned to the AEW and pro wrestling product, he would have got a big reaction. I would have just waited. I would have waited till Raw. Like he had some cool moments, like like little showdown with Cody, and got to show some of his power and stuff like that. But I think they didn't serve him ultimately the way they should have and presented him in the way, because he was in the match. I don't know if he really eliminated anybody. He might have eliminated somebody, but like his elimination was underwhelming too. They didn't really make a big note of it. So I'm not necessarily. I'm happy he's there, and like he looked great, and it was no fault of his own at all. So, but I don't think presenting him in Saudi Arabia, and Robert, my co-host on Rumor Innuendo, actually said that too. Like he wouldn't do it for that reason, and he was right. Like I agree with him. It did not hit well. Okay, we had La Parka come out, and not L.A. Park, not La Parka from WCW, who's now known as L.A. Park. He also has two sons. L.A. Park Jr., I think, is the one, and then El Hijo de L.A. Park. Well, this was neither of them. This is La Parka. I don't know if he's. I would assume he's related to the La Parka that passed away in AAA a couple years back. But this was a weird one, right? I was like, is this Seth Rollins coming out? That's what I thought. I was like, is he gonna like last in the Rumble and he's gonna unmask to be Seth Rollins? And I joked like, or is it DDP? Because that's where it's coming from. Well, no, it was just Elliot Laparca. It was just Laparca, and like a younger version that they gave context to. That Wade Barrett did a good job giving context to, and he just got eliminated. Like he had a couple, and I'm curious like why he was in there. I think maybe the Saudi people. The only thing I could think is like the Saudi people wanted something different, or maybe WWE wanted to really implement more of the AAA relationship that they have. Maybe it's a little bit of both. I don't know. Lesnar looks great, is amazing. He changes the whole dynamic of a match, of anything he's in. And, him being in the Rumble is awesome. Like him just suplexing the crap out of people. Like love it. I'm a big fan of Lesnar. I am. And like, I love that he's not afraid to show ass, or he's not afraid to, sell, or he's not afraid to like, have anybody beat him up. I always tip my cap to the match, even though it was such a role reversal. It was like Lesnar was a baby face and Daniel Bryan was a heel. Like in that match, like that was a great match. I did they were on the wrong sides of the fence for that one. Well, I really love Lesnar going up against all these different types of people. Like Obafemi, that stare down was a little much. They did it a couple times, and I'm like, and I know they're trying to tease it and like build to it in the match, and we got a little bit, but like they did it a couple times, and it was like, all right, we get it. just have them fight. It doesn't make sense for them to not just fight each other. Well, I love the little action that we got between Lesnar and Dragunov, because Dragunov's obviously much smaller than Lesnar, and like he harkened back to that Bryan Danielson, but like Lesnar's like foaming at the mouth, basically grabbing a hold of Dragunov, and Dragunov is not backing down, which is awesome. I want to see Dragunov take on Lesnar. Like, yeah, I'd love to see Lesnar versus Braun Breaker. I'd love to see Lesnar versus Obafemi. I'd love to see Lesnar versus Dragunov. How does people feel about that? And this exit for Lesnar was surprising. It felt like he was just, and like I said in my notes, it felt like he was just checking the Saudi big star box. Like, okay, we got you, Brock Lesnar. Thanks, Brock. Here's your big paycheck. We'll see you later. But you guys mentioned it earlier in the chat here, or maybe I read this somewhere else. I can't remember at this point. But Jey Uso comes out. All right. And sure, he comes through the crowd. It's understandable. That happens. It's part of it. Whatever. And you get the crowd reception and all that stuff. Gets in the ring. He's standing there. He doesn't do anything. And then he rolls it back in the Royal Rumble. And he gets on the turnbuckle, turns his back to everybody, and is celebrating with the crowd. such a tone deaf moment. Like, I did not like that whatsoever. Like, just and then yeah, you missed the Brock elimination. I think in that whole moment of it all too. Um, yeah, I did not like that whatsoever. Oh, Jem's leaving. Thanks, Jem. Thanks for tuning in, Jem. Um, but I no, it was one of the worst moments I've seen in a while from WWE. I like, and that's another thing is they're overdoing it with the yeeting and the rolling it back. And I like too that Roman kind of mocked it, like, okay, let's roll it back, and then he punches Jay, like, because it's getting too much. And I get you're doing it for the kids, and there's certain things that it does appeal to, and it's not like necessarily for me, and I get that. That's totally fine. But like when it takes away from the element of the match and the story you're trying to tell, I don't know about it. I just you got to do something. Like you can't have that happen. It's like they're gonna wear Jay thin here, and I think it kind of is in certain ways. Maybe that's intentional. I don't know because Oh, thanks. Maddie says this show is epic. Uh, good timing, Dom. Thank you. Um, so yeah, no, I just frustrating. I did not like that part. It took me out of it. Continuing on. Um, Orton, Final Four. Logan Paul deserved to be in the Final Four. I think he's great. He was not afraid to sell it. He was the finisher taker in this match. He like got beat up throughout his appearance in there. Like Lesnar, like you name it. Like he got taken to the woodshed. And like so him hanging in there at number 4, I think needles some of the like ardent fan base that really doesn't like Logan Paul. I love Logan Paul. I think he's awesome. And like so I was like, man, yeah, he deserves to be in that final 4. And like, and he was like it was him. Yeah, it was so he was the fourth of the he was the first of the 4 to be eliminated. So you had Randy Orton, then you had Gunther, and then you had Roman Reigns. And I thought you know, Randy being eliminated the way he was fine and stuff like that. But then you're down to Lesnar, or you're down to Gunther and Reigns. Well, at this point, Gunther's favoring his knee. He's limping. He's Triple E. Listen, I just come up with this right off the. I literally came up with doing this like probably an hour beforehand. It's I do got to get better at timing these, but a lot of the times if I'm motivated to do something, I'll just be like going live. Um, all I could say is like subscribe to the channel and keep your eye. Like I think you can turn your notifications on for when we're gonna go live. That's all I can do. But I appreciate you tuning in anyways. Yeah, but like I don't like I'm just coming up with this, but I appreciate the feedback too at the same time. But yeah, so yeah, you have Gunther telling this story like, oh man, he's beat up, and so him and Reigns going back and forth, and but then Gunther gets eliminated and Roman Reigns wins. And I get it. And like Roman Reigns is like a huge star, and you're not going to have him week in and week out in the build towards WrestleMania. So it does give him an out. Oh, I won the Rumble. Well, I'm picking this person to fight, and I'll see you at WrestleMania. And then you have him make the necessary appearances here and there in the build to Mania. So from a logistic perspective, that makes sense. What doesn't make sense is having Gunther be in there, I think, as the final 2 and him getting eliminated like he did a couple years ago. Or was it last year or the year? It was the year before, right? Yeah, it was the year before. And then I don't think it helps. Like he just defeated AJ Styles. He just ended his career. And then you have him, the last thing we see is have him be eliminated in the Royal Rumble. I don't necessarily think that was a good move. I would have been fine with it. I think it would have been less of a thing if you told more of the story as like, oh, he's beat up and somebody tosses him before he even gets maybe even to the final 4. He doesn't even make it that far because his knee was so bad and so screwed up. Like that, I could have made more sense. And then there had been some more impetus for him to be like maybe angry at AJ Styles, and then that to later affect him down the line more so. and it affected his chances at being in the main event of WrestleMania. So didn't necessarily like that. If I was WWE, and I also it's like okay, Roman Reigns is a big star and all that. We've seen him in how many WrestleMania main events? He's in everything. So it doesn't feel something different. But this also ties into the aspect of what Roman Reigns had to say. Was it on Pat McAfee or was it on another show? I can't remember. But he basically said, like, hey, nobody's making themselves a big star right now at all. Like nobody is taking the reins, pun not intended, of the company and putting it on their back and making them must see television. I'm coming back to take my title and make myself that. Well, there's a lot of truth to that, right? And I don't know how much is like it's all about presentation of the stars and finding the right star and building them up in the right manner. And I think you see that in certain ways with like somebody like a Obafemi is like the biggest one I take away from that. But Braun Breaker's another one, obviously. And like, we talked about Braun, right? We did talk about Braun a little bit. That I think, yeah, we did. And I was okay with how he was presented in this. Like I was like, there's a story to be told. I have a friend here in Pittsburgh. They work at Starbucks, and they were asking me, "Hey, have you heard about the Rumble?" Because I was like walking back to my place. I was like, "Oh no, I'm going to watch it when I get back." And I was like, "But I did hear some spoilers." And they were like, "Oh, I don't like how some people have been presented." I was like, "Oh yeah," and they were like, "Yeah, like Braun's one of my favorite wrestlers," and like so they're indicating that something happened with Braun, like that was frustrating. And I was like, "Oh okay." I was like, "Yeah, I think they know what they have in him, and they're just biding their time." And I was like, "I think he's gonna be okay." And when I watched this and saw it, I was like, "Yeah, it's fine. I think it's okay. There's more of a story to tell to Braun, and he's gonna be future #1 star." So you see that, I don't know where I was going with this. I completely lost my train of thought, but like Obafemi's a big star, future big star. Braun's a big star. Oh yeah, and so Roman kind of calling out like, hey, a lot of this talent is not where they're at, and I have to come back and take my title. So like that makes a lot of sense. Who's Roman going to go against? Are we really going to be super intrigued if Cody wins at Elimination Chamber? We get Roman and Cody again. Like you could tell a story with that, and it could be the rubber match between. Is it the rubber match between them two, or is this just the rematch? I don't even know. But we've seen that already. I don't know how. It's not like going to be like, oh, I got to see Roman and Cody again, and I don't know if it would necessarily work as well. So who's Roman going up against? I think we should get Roman and CM Punk. And I think there's a little bit of money in that one because that does feel like a big match. Two big names. We had Roman. It was Roman, Punk, and Seth in last year, but I think straight up one-on-one, I think you could tell some fun stuff with that one. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. Ultimately, I think it was a pretty good Royal Rumble overall. I think it was a good PLE. I would probably give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think that's pretty fair. Women's Rumble match was great. Roman versus Drew. That's not bad. Maddie, I like your first suggestion, though. Roman versus Jacob. So Fatu, if he wins the title at Elimination Chamber and you get Fatu versus Roman for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania, I think that's a fun one. So I wouldn't necessarily be against that. Drew does have a history with Roman? I'm trying to think. Does he? I can't really remember. It's so hard to keep track. All these wrestlers have been around forever now. But I would be more for Roman versus Jacob, to be honest. I would. But you know what? We've seen Drew and how he's able to handle angles, like make something really, really intriguing. He's done that with Damian Priest. Most notably, he's done with CM Punk. During the time where Punk was hurt for the majority of the year, 8 months or whatever it was, and Drew still made that the feud of the year, in my opinion. And he became the wrestler of the year for that, for me. That was in 2024. Oh, Drew could never beat Roman because of the bloodline. I guess you could tell a story of that. Yeah. And like, so I think Drew could maybe make something good of that, but and I don't think they're going for like a huge in that route. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. But overall, I think it was good Royal Rumble. PLE. Wasn't I guess I wasn't the total fan of the result of the men's Royal Rumble match. There were some neat moments. But like I think the women's Rumble match was great. I really do. Maybe the best women's Rumble match I've seen. But again, it's so hard for me to keep track and remember what I like. I thought last year's women's Rumble match was great too. I can't remember what happened, but I liked it. I remember liking it. So I thought it was much handled better. They set a lot of neat things up for the women's divisions in both brands and leads to WrestleMania and what could potentially be going on. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I thought that was really well handled. Liked AJ and Gunther, and Drew and Sammy was good too. So yeah, all right. I'll be talking about this with Robert tomorrow on Rumor and Innuendo. You can catch us noon Eastern Standard Time on a plethora of channels. Podcast Heat Wrestling. Just type that in your YouTube channel. Hit subscribe to that, and you can check Robert and I's analysis on it. I'll be interested to see Robert's take on it. I'm sure he feels a lot of the same way I do on this one. I can't imagine him disagreeing with maybe too much of it, but it'll be interesting to see what he says, how he feels about Roman winning, where they positioned Gunther in both matches that he was in, and other elements to it too. So check it out and join us, rvdtv.com. Tomorrow night, we're going live. Me and Rob Van Dam, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check us out. We're recording our latest episode. Should be a fun one, as it always is with Rob. And thank you, Rob, for letting me use this X account and other things. So, but thank you all for tuning in, from Maddie to Triple E to almost 500 people watching live. So I appreciate that too across the board. So go to studio1sports.com as you see on the ticker down here, and hit the like button and subscribe and check it out. I'm trying to do more live content here, and so I'm on a pretty good streak right now, and I appreciate everybody that's vibing with me here on here, as the kids say nowadays. Okay, all right, I'll see you next time here on studio1sports.com.